the Whispering Pines. In the small town of Ashwood, nestled deep in the heart of Maine, the Whispering Pines forest held a sinister reputation. The towering trees with their gnarled branches seemed to lean in, as if sharing secrets among themselves. The townsfolk spoke in hushed tones about the forest, passing down tales of those who ventured in and never returned. But as the years wore on, the stories became mere whispers, and the forest's dark past was forgotten by all but a few. Ethan Turner, a writer struggling with a severe case of writer's block, had just moved to Ashwood, seeking solitude and inspiration. He had rented a quaint cottage on the edge of the forest, drawn to its serene beauty. The locals, their faces shadowed with worry, had warned him to stay away from the forest, but he dismissed their concerns as mere superstition. One evening, while Ethan was sitting on his porch, he noticed an old man standing at the forest's edge. The man's eyes were wide with fear, his hands trembling as he clutched a worn, leather-bound journal. Ethan approached him, intrigued. "You must be Ethan," the old man croaked. "I'm Thomas, lived here all my life. I saw you move in and thought I should warn you." "Warn me about what?" Ethan asked, glancing at the forest. "The pines. They're not right. They whisper, you see. They whisper lies, draw you in. My brother, he went in 40 years ago, never came out, but sometimes I hear him, at night, begging for help." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine, but he was also curious. What happened to him? Thomas thrust the journal into Ethan's hands. "Read this. It's his. It might save you." That night, Ethan pored over the journal. It was filled with accounts of strange occurrences in the forest, voices calling from the shadows, ghostly figures seen among the trees, and a sense of being watched. The entries grew increasingly frantic, culminating in a final, unfinished note.
"They're coming. The whispers. They're inside my head. If anyone finds this..."
The entry ended abruptly. Ethan's curiosity was piqued, and despite the warnings, he decided to investigate. He armed himself with a flashlight and a notepad, setting off into the forest just as the sun dipped below the horizon. The deeper he ventured, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The towering pines seemed to close in around him, their branches creaking and rustling in the wind. It wasn't long before Ethan began to hear the whispers. At first, they were indistinct, like the murmur of a distant crowd. But soon they grew clearer, more insistent. Then the voice was soft, almost a sigh.
"Help me."
He froze, recognizing the voice from the journal entries. Thomas's brother, he called out, his voice trembling. "Is that you?"
"Please. I'm trapped. Follow my voice."
Ethan pressed on, the whispers growing louder, more urgent. He felt a strange compulsion, as if an invisible force was guiding him deeper into the forest. The trees seemed to bend and sway, forming a path that led to a small clearing. In the center stood a massive, ancient pine, its bark scarred and twisted. The whispers emanated from the tree, swirling around Ethan like a malevolent wind. He reached out to touch the bark, but as his fingers brushed against it, a sharp pain shot through his hand. He recoiled, seeing his fingers stained with blood. "Ethan," the voice was louder now, filled with pain.
"Help me, please."
Desperation clawed at Ethan's mind. He circled the tree, searching for any sign of the trapped soul. As he did, he stumbled upon an old, rusted shovel half buried in the undergrowth. He grabbed it, driven by a sudden, inexplicable urge to dig. Hours passed as Ethan labored, the whispers becoming more frenzied with each shovelful of earth. Finally, he hit something solid. He dropped to his knees, scraping away the dirt with his hands until he uncovered a wooden box, ancient and rotting. With trembling hands, he pried open the lid. Inside was a skeleton, its bones twisted and broken, but it was the skull that caught Ethan's eye. Its hollow eye sockets seemed to stare directly at him, and in that moment, the whispers reached a deafening crescendo.
"Ethan, you found me, but it's too late."
The realization hit him like a thunderbolt. The whispers weren't just coming from the tree, they were coming from the remains. The forest had claimed Thomas's brother, trapping his soul in an eternal torment. And now, it wanted Ethan. The ground beneath him began to shake, roots snaking up to wrap around his legs. He tried to scream, but the whispers filled his mouth, choking off his cries. The last thing he saw before the darkness claimed him was the twisted, grinning skull, its empty eyes mocking his fate. Days later, Thomas found Ethan's empty cottage. He knew, deep down, what had happened. The forest had claimed another victim. He took the journal, now stained with Ethan's blood, and added it to his collection of lost souls. As he left the cottage, he whispered a silent prayer for Ethan, knowing that the whispers of the pines would never be silenced. The whispering pines stood silent and foreboding, their secrets buried deep within the earth. And the town of Ashwood continued to live in the shadow of the forest, forever haunted by the whispers of those who ventured too far and never returned.